Welcome to this demo of the rollback tool for Amazon S3, which you can get from GitHub. As you can see, my S3 rollback demo bucket is completely empty. So I'm going to start by creating a data set in this bucket. So I've written a little tool that will do that. It's going to create a couple of thousand objects within this bucket, just so we've got a desired state, a known good place that I want to be able to get my bucket back to after an event's happened. So we've got a timestamp here of when this good state was completed. So let's go and have a look at what this looks like. If we refresh my bucket, I've now got a data set in my bucket. I've got a couple of folders in here, prefixes with slash delimiters on the end, and you can see that I've got 1000 objects, numbered 0 to 1000. They're all 2 bytes in size. They're all in intelligent tiering class. In B, similar story, but the first 6 of these objects are just over 5 gigabytes in size. And that's important. We'll come back to why later. As you can see, we've just got one version of each of these objects. All right, so now we're going to run the bad state operation. And this is going to add some delete markers. It's going to add some objects. It's going to make some copies of objects. It's going to make a mess in my bucket. So we can easily demonstrate the tool and show how it can very quickly revert us back to this known good state at this known point in time. But first, let's take a look in our bucket and see what's changed. So looking in folder C here, this shouldn't be here. We've got lots of new objects, and they're all even numbered. So we've got even numbered objects, we've got 500 of them, and they're all 3 bytes in size, and they're all in the standard storage class. Let's have a look in folder A. So remember, we had 1000 objects here. Now we've only got 500. All of the even numbered objects have gone. Or have they? Well, if we turn Show Versions on, we can see that versioning has saved us. We have delete markers on top of the objects. Now, we could just delete these delete markers. We could select them here in the console, and we could delete them. And yes, that would be entirely valid. There's no data in a delete marker, but it's not the only problem we've got to solve here. Let's go and have a look at what's going on elsewhere in the bucket. So we've still got folder B to check out. So remember, we had in here 6 objects that were 6 gigabytes in size in the intelligent tiering class, right at the top. And all of the even objects have been damaged. So we've got 3 bytes in standard class on all of our even objects. That's not right. Something's happened here. Turn on Show Versioning, and we can see that we've had data overwritten. So our original object versions are present, but they've been overwritten by a new version. We've still got the original data there, we've still got it with its original timestamp. We could delete the new versions. Again, that's a lot of work. It's also risky because permanent deletions cannot be undone. Now let's have a look at the inventories for this bucket. Do we have an S3 inventory that we can use to roll back? Well, we don't, because inventory isn't even turned on this bucket. And if it was, it wouldn't have that up-to-date change. We'd need to wait until tomorrow before it would. Luckily, we have a tool to help with this. So this is available from GitHub. We've just cloned the ListObjectVersions to CSV tool, and we're using that to list all the objects out into a CSV file. This is fine up to tens of millions of objects in your bucket. It starts to take a few hours after that. So we've got our CSV inventory of our bucket, and we're going to upload that to a location in S3 for the rollback tool to use. Now it's time to deploy the rollback tool. So we're going to start in CloudFormation. We're going to create a new stack using a template, and we're going to choose the template file we've downloaded from GitHub. So in here we need to provide a name. I'm just going to call this rollback demo, and then we need to provide the name of the bucket that we want to roll back. S3 rollback demo is the name of my bucket, and the timestamp we want to roll back to. So this is the time just before that event happened. If we wanted to roll back a specific prefix in our bucket, we could specify that here. We're going to do the whole bucket, and we can choose whether or not we want the batch operations jobs to be started automatically. Because this is test data and we don't need to validate the tasks being done, we can choose yes. We can choose the storage class to copy objects to, as we're making copies to the top of the stack. If in doubt, always use intelligent tiering. And if we wanted to copy using a KMS key, we'd specify that here and go and read the documentation for setting up permissions. We're going to specify the location of our CSV inventory. So if you're using S3 inventory, you don't need to do this. If you created a manual inventory using that other tool, then that's where you specify it. We're going to follow through the CloudFormation stack deployment process, next to the end, and submit. And that's it, it's running. So we can see our CloudFormation stacks on the left. We can see that this one is creating, and we've got this nice recent addition of the timeline view. So we can see all of the pieces of this CloudFormation stack being deployed. We've got all of the roles, we've got the tables, we've got the functions being deployed. And I've sped this up just slightly so we can very quickly get to the end of the deployment. It only takes a couple of minutes to run. We can see here we've got functions for batch operations to use for deleting objects. We've got our bucket cleaner function for tidying up the solution at the end. And we've also got the tables being created now for the different scenarios. And we're done. If we switch into S3 batch operations, we can see that we've got some new jobs here, and some of them are already nearly completed because we automatically started them. So we can see we've got 4 jobs here. And looking at more detail of these jobs, we have one for each of the scenarios. Scenario 1 is where we need to add delete markers. So new objects have been placed that shouldn't be there. We want to add delete markers. There were 500 of these to do. We've also got scenario 2, which is where we want to delete markers. So this is where we've had delete markers placed on objects. We've got 500 of those. We want to get rid of those delete markers. Delete markers are not data, so they're safe to delete. Now we've got these situations where we had overwrites and we want to copy the older version back over the top. See, we've only got 497 of these that we're doing with a copy, 3 that we're doing with a lambda function, and that's because those are the 3 that are larger than 5 gigabytes. Currently there's a limitation in batch operations where it can only copy up to 5 gigabyte objects, so we're fixing that with a lambda. We hit refresh, these are all done, they're all 100% complete, and we can see that we've undone 1,500 changes in just a couple of minutes. If we refresh our bucket, without the show versions enabled, the bucket now looks exactly the same as it did prior to the bad event taking place. If we turn versioning on, we can see that all of this bad data is still here. We just have delete markers on top of it because we haven't deleted any data. Now let's take a look at folder A. So again, we're back to our state of having 1,000 objects in here, as you'd expect, 2 bytes in intelligent tiering, and if we turn on versions, we can see that there are no delete markers here. We've permanently deleted those delete markers. Right, let's go and have a look in B. So remember here we'd overwritten our objects. So without versions showing, we have all the correct object sizes. We've got the correct storage class. And if we turn on versions, we can see that we've got a current version is the copy of our original version. And if we were to look at the data within those objects, we'd see that it's exactly the same. And remember, this only affected the even numbered objects. So we've completely rolled back our bucket. One last thing to show you. If we have a look in our CloudFormation outputs, we see we have this S3 location for storing our manifests. And if we jump into that bucket and go and have a look at it and see what's in there, you will see that we have various outputs from Athena, but also these manifests. And this is what batch operations used. We have one here called scenario 2 undo. This wasn't used for anything, but this is one that you might want to keep because you will need this if you want to undo the changes made by this tool. Please see the documentation for more information about that. Thanks for watching. We hope you find this useful, and we're really excited to hear your feedback.